Oh, you know what I didn't do?
What's that?
I didn't remove like this. Get rid of that so I can see the screen and read questions. Yours is probably okay.
Okay.
So, all right. We'll give people a few minutes to join, and then we'll talk about uh, a couple of topics that might be. Hello, John. A couple of topics that might be a little controversial.
Okay.
One of which, for those of you that are joining in quickly, hello. What now? So, we like to have debates, as most of you know. And today's debate is going to be on carrying chambered versus not chambered. But before you and I talk about it, I would like to get their opinions.
That's a good idea.
So before he and I discuss it at all, if you would, for those of you that are watching currently, type in and so let us know. Chambered. Hey, I have a question. All right, complete. Chris, tell us what your question is. And for the rest of you who are just watching, please let us know what is your preference. Are you a person that carries chambered or not chambered? If you even want to quickly, like one sentence, want to put why, feel free to do that. And then one of us is going to give you a reason to carry chambered or not chambered, and the other is going to give you a reason to carry chambered or not chambered. So,
is that how it's working?
Perhaps.
Okay.
We might give arguments both ways.
Okay, so look, we got a first not chambered.
Scott says not chambered. Get the point.
Okay, if
Chambered
you get to the
always.
point you actually need it, you won't have time to chamber around, is what they're saying.
What do you think about the new gun laws? Depends on where you're located for the person that asked that. We'll touch on that here in just a second because there is a place up in Chicago. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not sure.
So I think it's Deerfield, Chicago. They have passed a weapons ban. They have 90 days to get rid of.
I've heard something about that. Maybe I'm just kind of trying to ignore it.
Somebody says, Steve, why is this even a fucking debate? All right, so.
I don't see that.
All right, so it seems like most of you, chamber, that's 2 seconds, can be a life or death. All right. I think most of the people have said chambered.
I think all but one have said chambered so far.
Right. Yeah. So those of you that don't know this guy, this is Emery Morgenstern. Emery is co-owner of Combat Force Academy, and is an instructor, former Special Forces. You've done everything from demolition to hostage rescue to counterterrorism. Yeah, you've done a little bit of everything. Yeah. So I respect his opinion is what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. I respect his opinion. However, we don't completely agree on this topic. So, Emery, your position is that not chambered is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
And tell us a little bit why. And if you guys have questions, I'm gonna try to read the questions as you're posting. So if you have some questions, don't hesitate to post.
So first of all, I know that this
says I don't like him already.
Fair enough. You don't have to like me. That's fine. So first of all, I know that this is a very loaded topic.
Sure.
People are very, very adamant about chambered. And the guns are great to keep your family safe. Super. Thank you, Complete Chris. This is a very loaded topic, and I think that I've heard a lot of arguments really in one direction here in the States. I've heard of this called Israeli carry. So first, let's address this whole thing. I think obviously it's called that because in the military. I want to dispel a couple of little myths here first. In the military, when you have guys and girls who carry pistols going home, and it's with an AR too. You're sitting on the bus, you're walking through town, blah, blah, blah. You're tired. You're also like 18, 19, 20, which with all due respect, you're an adult, you can vote, you can carry a gun, but you still have a lot of growing up to do and a lot of training to do. And
we're talking about in the military or out of the military?
In the military.
In the military, okay.
And I think, people are trying to take a lot of, we need to take responsibility for what happens. And I think that what we do is we try to weigh the pros and cons of safety, as well as your quick reaction which, let's face it, are we too lazy to rack a slide?
Well, I don't know if it's them. I think
hold on.
it's too lazy.
Yeah, I know, and I'm being a little stabby there, and I want to kind of not take this into the kind of fighting
Sure.
discussion, but we have to weigh a lot of things, and some of it does come from a trust issue sometimes. When we know this in every military, there are soldiers who play with guns, and that happens, and people don't really talk about it because it's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable. But the fact of the matter is that happens, and it's more of a safety thing now. Having a loaded but not chambered gun, I think really the time difference. And you'd sent me a video a couple weeks ago on some guy demonstrating this, and you could see that. Thank you, Rabin. I appreciate that. And first of all, we're all buddies here, right? There's not, we don't want any animosity here, regardless of anything. And if you're, anybody, then you're welcome into this conversation. Period. So, so we're considering safety. I think, when you apply that into...
So that we don't lose viewers, you're probably going to have to get more to the point.
Right. I'm sorry. I'll apologize. I'm not used to this whole
I'm calling him out. I'm calling him out online. I apologize.
Yeah, no, please do it.
He tends to talk a lot and give long explanations. So
I'm also not used to, being in front of these things.
Yeah.
So where's Jen? Yeah, well, she looks a lot better than I do. I agree.
I don't know if you're giving yourself enough credit there.
Right. All right. So anyway, okay. Look, let's take this into something that's more practical for us. 100% of the time you carry a gun, right? Out of the 100% of that time, how much of that time do you actually use that gun for self-defense?
Good point.
What are the chances? That you will need? And I've been studying a lot of these things, a lot of these videos, a lot of these events. There's such a minute amount of places that I have seen instances where that 0.2 of a second difference is going to make the difference between life and death. Whereas, what are the chances of the 100% of your life that you carry a gun? What are the chances that something can happen, somebody can get a hand on it, right? Mm-hmm. I think in many places, it's just the benefits of having an unchambered gun, loaded but unchambered, outweigh the negative parts. I'm not advocating that everybody needs to carry unchambered. I personally, a lot of the time, carry unchambered, and we're just like we did, in our presentations where we're talking about awareness, situational awareness. And when I get to a situation where I feel like something may be endangering me, absolutely, I put one in the chamber. And that happens to me maybe 2 to 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. In my life. That's how often I feel that I might be getting into a situation like that. To me, I feel it's appropriate. So
somebody says a military point of view is what's needed. Just my opinion. I'm not sure what Scott meant by that comment, but maybe
right. I don't think I understand that either. If you want to expand on that.
Yeah, says Carrie. This guy says carry how you feel comfortable, and that's true. I absolutely agree with that. So I think what Emery is saying is that, if I'm understanding your position correctly, the likelihood of us using a firearm is so minute that if we are to carry, and the likelihood of something bad happening with our firearm while chambered, for instance, maybe a child getting a hold of it, or for whatever reason, I'll tell you, you know what my biggest fear is?
What's that?
My absolute number one fear, and sorry, I didn't mean to hit the counter. The camera's not on a tripod today, it's sitting on the counter, I apologize. My absolute number one fear when carrying a firearm, and I'm carrying, let's see here, protection, would like to have words with you.
Fair enough.
So, all right, and I respect John, obviously, from Active Self-Protection.
Absolutely.
He's
absolutely.
Very good.
I think it's not only, let me just refine what you said, it's not only the chances of you being in an engagement, the chances of you being in an engagement where it's that 0.2 second difference between chambering and unchambered, I think that is a very minute possibility compared with the safety that we can have, by...
So, here's my one time I absolutely would like to be unchambered.
Uh-huh.
And this is no disrespect. Many of you know that we are extremely pro law enforcement, so do not take this incorrect.
course.
If I get pulled over and if an officer wants to see my firearm,
That's a good example.
I believe the safest place for that firearm is left in its holster, not pulling it out and handing it to somebody who's then going to clear a firearm that they're not, maybe a system they're not familiar with.
Sure.
And or maybe their department doesn't practice as often, and maybe so maybe their trigger control's not as honed in, or their muzzle control is not as honed in, and so
I would take it a step back before that. Is, I mean, if you're in a conversation with a law enforcement officer who says, hey, do you have a firearm? And your answer is yes, I do have a firearm. It is loaded and unchambered. Then you're being, responsible, and you're taking a little bit of weight off of his shoulders.
Sure.
Possibly. I'm not a law enforcement officer.
Right.
I can tell you, by the way, I just wanted to dispel the one thing in the military. Sorry, I touched the table again. In Israel, because they call it Israeli carry all the time, when we go on a mission or on anything like that, we're absolutely chambered. Yeah, I don't want let's not have any confusion about that. We're losing our rights a little each day. That disappeared.
So what John was saying is, hey, this debate is almost pointless. He's saying we need to focus, instead of focusing on this, we should be focusing on the fact that we're losing rights.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about.
No. What happened?
Hey, tell them to turn the lights back on. You know what? I could probably turn on lights here. Let's see.
Well, now we can.
There we go.
All
right. All right.
If you guys really want to veer this into another topic, then we're okay. We just figured, this is a controversial enough topic to make it interesting.
So Emory is not close to here. His school is in Colorado, and so it's not often that we have him here that we can have a debate on this. But it is
and there's nobody else that has my opinion, it seems. Anyway,
yeah. There's not a lot of people that share that opinion. So let's real quick, because they shut off the lights right as you were talking about this. Hang on.
We have a solution for you as far as racking the slide with one hand, two hands. Yeah. First of all, that's a consideration. If you don't have two hands to use right now, that is a consideration. There are also other things you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can train them on the range.
Yeah.
We can train them on the range, and there are safe ways to train them off the range with no live ammo.
In Israeli military,
yes.
Do you guys carry chambered or unchambered on your pistol?
Well, that depends. I mean, if I'm going home, typically I'll carry unchambered.
Okay.
If we're going on a mission, if we're on duty, absolutely it is chambered.
Okay.
100% it is chambered. What were you talking about? I'm lost in Steve's eyes.
I don't know what the hell that means.
I'm not really sure what that means either.
All right, so
if you want to reiterate what you Kurdish Knight. I'm sorry. If you want to reiterate what you just said, we'll be happy to answer. I just didn't get it.
All right, so now let's veer off topic a little bit, because certainly this is something that a lot of people have a concern about, and that is gun rights are somewhat being attacked right now. And
Absolutely.
We have the community up in Illinois, on the outskirts of Chicago. I believe it's called Deerfield. Okay. They passed a law that says, I'm actually very curious to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
They passed a law that says, hey, you've got 90 days to, I don't know if they're allowed to sell it to someone else outside or...
Deerfield. Thank you.
What I said? Did I say Deerfield?
You did,
okay.
and we're getting
a... So the question is, they've got the 90 days to turn in their firearms, or maybe they are also allowed to sell. I don't know. But nonetheless, you happen to live in this community. You can't afford to take a loss on your house immediately, sell it, and get out.
Right.
Do you turn your firearms in?
Personally, me?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I look, it's almost an impossible question. I think that assuming the story is accurate, I'm hearing about it really for the first time.
Sure.
If this story really is accurate, this is such an ugly thing to be able to put people in a situation where they really have no choice. That's really disturbing.
So now on top of that,
I would not get rid of my guns. Of course not.
All right. So are you willing to risk being a felon overnight?
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's kind of an John G. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I agree. I think it's unfair. I have not had time to think about it. it makes me angry. And when we get angry, automatically, no, whatever. If I had a day to stew on it, I would try to come up with some sort of solution, right? I mean, I'd get in my car, I'd drive, to Wyoming, drop my guns off with a friend, and try to make a decision from there. I think is probably the smartest thing I can say on the fly, maybe right now. No, I would not get rid of my guns.
This guy says I can try to take my firearms. Here's what I say to that. I'm trying not. I keep wanting to set my hands down.
Right.
Here's what I say to that. I think we all feel very similar that we would like to believe that we would stand up for our rights and
Just trying to take another city into Benning. Okay.
and protect our Second Amendment rights. At the same time, are you protecting the Constitution or your Second Amendment if you stand by yourself when someone comes and knocks at your door?
Even if it's not by yourself, I think that's not the issue. The issue here is we as responsible gun owners need to not be children, right? And we need to be responsible. And I think our deal is that if by making statements like that, whether we really believe in them or not, or whether we would act on them or not, we are seen by everybody as being that angry child. And I think we need to really, that's how we're seen, right? I understand saying that. I kind of feel that way too, but we can't say that. And I think we have to, we have to really have a conversation. We have to have an adult conversation. We have to be understood by the people who don't believe in our rights to have firearms. Having said that, I don't want to give up my firearms, period, right? What good are your weapons if they're in another state location?
Right.
What I'm saying, what I meant by that, thank you for that question. It's not dumping them off there and then coming back and living in Deerfield. I would move. Part of Steve's question was you can't just sell your house overnight, right? So I would put them there for now. You can go live there for now and take care of selling your house from afar. For me, I would move. There's no question. I'm not there. Right. I'm not there. There's a reason I live where I live.
So I'll tell you what's funny is come on in, Alex.
Come on
in and join this.
You're right there.
Alex is coming in. We're getting him in here. All right. So first and foremost, this goes back to one of the things that I always preach. Mm-hmm. And here's Alexis. Here, let's scoot over. We'll get everybody.
Moving is not an option if there are no places left to move. Look, I think there are places left to move. And I see what you're saying. I don't think we're going to get to a point where there's not going to be places left to move. I really don't think we're going to get there because there's enough of us for now. I think there's enough of us in this country who are responsible gun owners who not only own guns to defend ourselves, but we own guns to defend.
I want you in here. I want you in here.
I can see it.
Alex is standing right
Trust me, everybody on here.
All right.
So I think there's enough of us who not only own guns to defend ourselves, but we own guns to defend everybody around us. And we're doing it responsibly. We're doing it for the right reasons. I don't think that there's not going to be a safe haven for us. And it almost feels ironic to say.
So two things. One, there is a community in Illinois that has passed the sanctuary community or county or whatever.
They are saying we are a
sanctuary
city for firearms.
Right. So if you are in Illinois, they have now advised their city officials not to enforce any law that's passed because they believe it not to be constitutional.
Does anybody on here, can you guys say something to the effect of what that place is and
I think it is Effingham.
It's Effingham.
Well, I mean, is it okay? So
yeah, it's
not just where is it? I mean, what is the legality of it?
Careful not to bump the table.
It's probably an hour and maybe a half from us.
What is the legality of that? I mean, is that city going to get in some sort of trouble with the state? I don't know how these things go. I'm not certainly not a lawyer. I just do this.
All right. So this which also takes me back while she's looking at this takes me back to another point that I always try to make and drive home with people, and that is every single day we vote with our dollar. You Absolutely. Are voting with your dollar. And so, hell, I live next to Illinois. Mm-hmm. I'm 7 miles. I'm in Indiana. We're in Indiana. Mm-hmm. I am 7 miles from the border and I absolutely will not spend a penny.
And they have cheaper gas.
And they have cheaper gas, everything.
Yeah.
I will not spend a penny in Illinois. If I have to cross Illinois for whatever reason, I will. Sorry.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know how to deal with
All
that.
right. Yes, there's so much communication coming in at
Right.
once. Yeah. All right. So if I'm in Illinois, or if I need to travel through Illinois to go to Missouri or wherever I need to go, I will gas up. I will go to the bathroom. No, I'll drive through it.
You'll drive through it.
I'll drive through it.
You'll take apart your, take your mag out. And put your
They
gun
now
in the
have it so you
trunk
can
or
travel
whatever.
through.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can travel through.
Yeah, you can't have like the intent to stop, I believe.
Right, you can't
Okay.
stop.
I didn't know
So,
that.
but
That's
you can leave it on you. You cannot get out of your vehicle. So what I do is I gas up, I go to
Only
the
City
bathroom,
of Chicago and certain lives.
and I drive straight through, and I do not stop.
I didn't know you could do that. That's.
I believe it's the same thing in Ohio, actually. As long as you don't have the intent to stay there.
Right, I think you can get out of your vehicle.
Right, you can't like be staying there for a period.
Having said that, if you go to some of the reciprocity maps, they are showing that Ohio now is a reciprocal state or a reciprocal.
It
With
changed
Indiana?
like a year
With
ago or
Indiana.
something.
I think it did change.
Yeah, look, I can we go back to your voting with dollars? I totally agree. Dick's Sporting Goods, for example, I may be pressing a hot button here. Dick's Sporting Goods, I will never spend a dime there.
Absolutely.
We have Jack's, which had a similar thing, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody knows better. These places that are, Starbucks had that thing with the veterans, right? I won't, and they ended up taking that back, but during that whole time, yeah, absolutely, they're not getting a cent of my money.
We have a Facebook page dedicated to this, actually. That
really?
people can post other, that are
What is it?
it is
No guns equals no money.
There you go.
No guns equals no money.
So,
Exactly.
and what it does is and we actually made a major change in a national chain
Okay.
by 10 a.m. or by 11 a.m. the next morning after they put their signs up.
Uh-huh.
Had somebody scraping them off the windows, and they called us and asked us to
What were the signs? No gun signs?
The circle with the line.
circle with the line.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Tell me again. I'm
we
gonna.
can
what do we do?
make
Do we
change.
friend it?
Yeah, just go to Facebook.
I'm
and
sorry. I'm
we-
totally Facebook illiterate, so you're gonna have to apologize.
So and then
I
follow
didn't
that,
know
and then what we do is we post and then help people call in and try to make change. Toys R Us was another one that we said, look, they don't.
You need to carry guns, Toys R Us.
No, but they had no gun sign policy. So
Okay.
here I am. If I'm going in to shop, I'm buying
Right.
my friend's child a gift or whatever. I'm not allowed to go in there. And so
Do you have a list on there of places that have this?
it changes so frequently. So yeah, we have had lists, but
Okay.
yeah. But the bottom line is, today in Indiana, if the sign is on the window, it is still legal for you to go in there. It is a request by the business owner for you not to have a gun, but it's still legal. You're not breaking a law,
Right.
other than if they see you and ask you to leave. Now you could be
Then
arrested for
trespassing.
or asked to leave for trespassing.
Correct.
They can call the police.
Right.
But in Illinois, it is law.
Mhm.
So they put that sign up. You, by law, are not allowed to go into that.
Well, look, we know
So-
that these things in Illinois don't really work to make anything safer.
Effingham County, Illinois, on Monday became a sanctuary county for gun owners. Thank you, T-Bag or T-Bog.
Go Effingham.
Yeah, good for them.
Effingham, yeah.
Look, there's a lot of good people that live in Illinois, and they're getting pretty tanked by this whole thing. It's really a shame, but look, we do have a lot of great places left that do support people like us and our rights.
All right, they want the lovely
The
lady's,
lovely lady's opinion. Is that me? That's me.
I think it's
there's
Alex.
It's actually
Oh, it's
the other
Alex.
It is
yeah.
Alex. Hi, Alex.
Oh, since when is my name Alex?
All right, today.
Alex with 2 X's. What's your opinion, Alexis?
On what?
do you believe that should you simply not do business with them, or would you still do business with them and not really care about what
I think it just depends.
on
If
whether or
there's
not you
like-
really like their product?
Yeah, actually.
All right.
No, if there's like another place to get it, like around here, there's like certain places.
Is Whitney here? Somebody says, "Where the hell's Whitney?"
Yeah. I think she is.
Whitney
She's
was
here
there.
somewhere.
I'm sorry. I can live without that product. Period. Chambered or not chambered? What, you want us to go back to that topic?
He is, for the most part, a not chambered while not in a military.
No, look.
Capacity.
Okay, I mean, if we're getting back to that, then we're getting back to it. But
Chambered or not chambered, Alex?
By the way, here's Whitney, because I know Alexis has to get ready to leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, everybody who wanted to know where Whitney is, she's right here.
Bye, Alexis.
Sorry.
Hey, sit down. Woo!
What?
Whitney's here.
Yeah.
Never
look,
again. I will not shop there. Shop where, Victor? All right. So there, Whitney. We're gonna ask you a question. You've heard of some people carrying chambered and some people carry not chambered. Which way do you carry?
Chamber.
And do you have any? Let me preface this by saying, Whitney is reasonably new to carrying a firearm, so I don't expect her to have a lot of facts to back it up, but she may. I don't know. So do you have reasons that you believe chambered is the right way to carry, or is it just that's what you've kind of been taught up to this point?
I just believe that if I'm gonna have to use it under a stressful situation, I'm not gonna have the instinct to chamber one.
Okay, may not have the muscle memory
Yes.
built in. That's actually one of the better reasons I've heard.
Yes.
Look, lack of training doesn't excuse anything, right?
Yes.
This is not something that takes a lot of training to learn. And, I certainly understand that answer. I think that, given 30 minutes on the range, we can change that.
Yes.
If you still decide to carry chambered afterwards, great.
All right,
So you
right.
you don't carry chamber?
I,
Or
for
you
the
do?
most part, do not carry chambered.
Really?
I feel that the risks involved with 100% of the time that I carry a gun, pretty much 100% of that time, I'm not shooting anybody with it.
Yes.
And I feel that there's a stronger chance at any given moment that somebody, something could happen with that gun where somebody gets a hand on it. Although that's never happened to me either.
Yes.
I don't plan on it happening. I think there's a higher likelihood of that happening than me becoming engaged where I have to pull that gun out, and that slight difference between doing this and not doing that is going to really be what's going to save my life.
Yes.
I don't think it's a
and
function of training for years.
for a person who has trained, what's the difference in time between coming out and chambering?
We should go check it on the range. I think it's going to be somewhere in the 0.2 seconds area, 0.2, 0.3 seconds.
So not 2 seconds,
I
but
thought it was.
No.
I thought it
No,
was
no, no,
0.3.
difference.
I thought it was
0.2.
0.3.
0.2 of a second difference.
It should be somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's call it a half a second difference.
Okay.
I think, and maybe we should go try it.
Hey, Donald says you're doing a very, I think it's meant good job convincing him not to carry chambered. All right.
Look,
so-
I first of all, I'd like to say here, I'm not really in the picture. I'd like to say I'm not really trying to convince people to carry one way or another. I'm trying to put more intelligent conversation out there. This is what I choose to do. And you don't want to add another step and cause a malfunction. You're not going to cause a malfunction. Come on. If you rack the slide properly, you're not going to cause a malfunction.
I'm going to go back to what she said. I kind of agree. There's a lot of people that do not keep a manual safety, and that's also one of the reasons. It's also one of the reasons law enforcement, for the most part, the majority of law enforcement no longer put a manual safety on the firearms or carry a firearm with a manual safety because they had officers get killed in the line of duty when they went up, and because they hadn't trained enough.
Do we want to get into this conversation right now?
They hadn't trained enough. And with disengaging the safety, rechambering, but it ended up costing them their life. And so
I'm kind of holding my mouth shut.
I know you are. I know you're itching to get in here.
No, I'm not. I really almost want to veer away from this
Okay.
police officers in training conversation.
All right.
I think we should have that at a different time.
But even
I understand the point.
civilians, whoever.
Yeah, look, I understand the point.
Under
If you
stress,
have-
are we
look.
going to think to turn off a safety or to chamber?
It's how we train and what we train. And if you have a tool, you better know how that tool works. Whatever your tool is, you better know how that thing works. Then you train that tool, you train everything on that tool, and then you make your decision how you want to carry that tool.
Sure.
I'm not going against carrying chambered. I think we should have a really good conversation about this as we're doing here. And by the way, I want to thank the people participating because your comments are actually fantastic and on point. And I thought we were going to get a lot of you're an idiot, but
Well, that doesn't negate the fact that you could still be an idiot.
no, I am for sure. But they're not calling me an idiot, which is already a good conversation.
All right, so somebody, this we're not going to get into a conversation about, but I do want to mention somebody made the comment about, with their adrenaline rushing and all that. One of the things that Emory specializes in at his school, for those of you, once again, it's Combat Force Academy in Colorado. One of the things that you specialize in, you guys teach a whole course on the adrenaline dump. And so,
we do. We have a few. So there's a few things. We have one class specifically, which we call ARGUS. It's RGUUS, and that stands for Responsible Gun Use Under Stress. It's actually not a shooting class specifically. We use airsoft pistols, but the point is really for us to discover what our brains are doing when we're and what our bodies are doing when we're under these kinds of situations, and how to overcome that and how to deal with it. That's one thing, and everything we do on the range, we induce stress, whether it's on a low level or whether it's on a higher physical level. So we induce stress because, I believe that standing there and just practicing technique on the range, when your heart rate's low and you can focus on your target and all that is good for technique and it's important. But we also have to incorporate stress training, and that's not just physical stress.
All right.
Like to take.
He does that exact training what you just asked about.
So
you do empty hand transitioning to
Yes.
firearms. You do a lot of
Absolutely.
So
everything we do, even our even a basic CCW class, I incorporate elements. I should say we incorporate, my partner Mike and I. We incorporate elements of whether it's Krav Maga. I'm also an instructor of martial blade concepts. So we incorporate all kinds of stuff like that into the shooting, because I believe that shooting alone is just shooting, but we're teaching fighting, we're teaching survival, and that incorporates a lot of things. For example, at this range, I need some more tools in my toolbox to be able to deploy a firearm.
right, especially against me.
Especially against you,
Right.
and she scares me.
She does scare me. I've seen her shoot. All right, so and she does well. All right, so a couple things. One, if they want to train with you, you have a school in Colorado.
We do.
You also come here to Top Guns and teach here on a regular basis, which we love having you out. But also, I don't know that we need hugs necessarily. So for those of you that weren't on watching earlier, let me say that Emory is a former Special Forces and still a reservist in the Israeli military. Your partner is former U.S. military.
Correct.
And you guys, between the two of you, I know you personally have training and specialties that were everything from hostage rescue to counterterrorism, and a little bit of everything that goes with that. So,
Which is kind of the same thing, really. But yeah.
is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
All right. So, and I don't know what his specialties were,
You
but
should do a course in Deerfield.
fun. All right. So if you want to train with him, also you have a YouTube channel. You just started it. Not
We
too
just
long ago.
started. Look, I gotta admit, I'm new to this whole being in front of a camera thing. It's not my favorite thing to do.
But he's
we're
very talented,
trying.
so I highly recommend
Super talented.
follow his channel. Where's your channel at?
It's Combat Force Academy on YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. Please go ahead and go onto our website. You can just give us a call. I'm not the biggest computer person, but if you give us a call, we'll be happy to chat and come out and play. If somebody wants us to come out and teach a class somewhere else, we'll be happy to. I love coming out here to Top Guns. I love this place. I think you guys have an awesome facility. I always have a good time. You bring in some fantastic people every time I come out here and train. I meet amazing people, and we have a blast. So
We've been fortunate. We've been blessed. We have great clients and great clientele that come in and train on a regular basis. So, all right. So, and they have redheads. This is true. We have lots of redheads here. I don't know what it is. You are not a redhead.
Nope.
No, I'm not.
But we do have lots of redheaded young ladies that work here. Now,
stepchildren.
It was never. Your subs went from 23 to 26 in 10 seconds. So people are currently subbing as you're watching, is what they're saying. Thank you guys again. Check him out. All right. So now, another question came up.
I don't know what that means, by the way. But
The people that
I don't know what
subscribe,
it means either.
people subscribe and follow your channel.
Okay.
So they're now
Okay,
you're at 27. They're saying.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about. Somebody said, add fuel to the fire, 9mm versus 45. We won't have a big debate.
Sure.
Which one do you prefer?
Look, daily, I can. Should we talk about brands and stuff? Is that like?
Yeah, no, I mean that's not really that.
All right. Look, I carry a Sig 220. in a 45. I also carry an Arsenal Strike 1 in a 9mm. I like both.
Not at the same time though.
Typically not at the same time,
Right.
but I do have a few knives on me at the same time always. Because I also make knives and I really enjoy knives.
He's an excellent knife maker.
And 45, my man. Yeah, I agree. Look, here's the deal. I think each caliber has its pluses and minuses, right? I mean, we're all aware of them. You carry a 45, you get more bang for your buck, and you got less rounds in your mag. It's your shooting style will dictate a lot of what you should carry. In the military, we carried a 9mm. Pretty much everybody in the Israeli military and armed forces carries a 9mm because that's what we got, and it does the job. Let me tell you, it does the job. So you have to you have to train according to what you carry.
All right, so
I don't like 380. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I'm
don't
with you
either.
there.
I do not.
They're prone to jamming and just not.
Another thing about 380. I mean, forget the effects, the terminal ballistics and everything, which are not super. I have a lot. We run a couples class, for example, where couples can come and kind of train together, and a lot of guys come and say, oh well, I bought my wife this 380. It's tiny and it fits in her hand and all that, which is super. And I find that a lot of women aren't able to really rack the slide on that.
Mm-hmm.
And having that small gun, you need kind of a more stout spring, and that makes it problematic for some people. So piece of information that hopefully is useful for somebody.
Question came up: What handgun does the Israeli army carry?
Right now, everybody is pretty much on Glock 19s.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
And you did what when they brought you a Glock?
I refused to take it. I like my SIG. I like my SIG. I had a 228, and I really trust that thing. I love it. It's got a higher bore axis, which poo-poo, whatever. I love that thing, and so I didn't want to take the Glock. I have a different problem with the Glock. I have a meaty part of my hand up here, and I get the bite, and I do own a Glock. I own a Glock 19 right now. I put the beaver tail on it. It mitigates the slide bite for the most part. Once in a while, I still get it, but I'm now not used to it, and I don't prefer it.
All right, Steve, do you have SIG 228? I really want one. You know what? I don't believe we do have one, but we get them we see them come through on a semi-regular basis. That's an older SIG model.
Well, now the SIG 229, they started off having that really low. They kind of machined off a lot of that, and so your grip back here for your racking was low. But now they've changed it back to what it was like the 228. So buying a 229 right now essentially is like having a 228.
When they first came out with the 229, I think I remember the 228 was the 9mm, the 229 was the 40 cal. And then since then, now,
oh really?
Back when they first came out.
Because I bought my girlfriend a 229 back in the day, and that was in the 9 for sure.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but if memory serves me right, the 228 was always the 9mm, and if you wanted the 40, you went to the 229, and the 229 was not offered in a 9 when it first came out.
I did
Shortly
not know that.
after, they also offered the 229 in a 9mm. I was like, well, what's the point of carrying two 9mm? And then they eventually did away with the 228.
Okay.
The 228 is a rolled. We call it like a rolled, stamped rolled slide, whereas the 229 is a milled slide.
Is it machined?
Yeah, machined.
Okay, interesting.
I missed that post.
What do you
it was.
think of RDS?
RDS. What is RDS?
I have no idea.
RDS? I don't know what we're talking
I didn't see the rest of the post. You might have to copy and paste it or whatever. I don't know what RDS is.
I don't either.
All right. So a little bit ago, somebody said a red dot dite.
Red dot sight.
Yeah.
Is that the SIG sight? I've not tried one of those yet.
I'm not a fan of
Red dot sight for pistol. I get you. RMR.
Trigicon. I maybe would consider in the one that is that is a fiber optic. I will not put a sight on any gun that is for defensive purposes that requires a battery to function. So either the electronics can go bad, the battery can go dead. Maybe it's just a bad battery.
Look, I personally, I agree with you. I personally don't prefer anything with batteries on my weapon.
Yeah.
But unless in the military,
Light, of course, you have to.
Well, a light, yeah, but you don't need a light in order to use your weapon.
Right.
You know, I've carried a weapon with a thermal sight, you know, in the military for certain things, and you don't have a choice. If that's what you need, then that's what you need. On a pistol, my preference, I don't particularly care for things like the RMR on a pistol for carry, just because it's not comfortable for me. I've shot a little bit with an RMR. You know, there's no question they're really nice to shoot.
Yeah.
They're nice.
Well, we are running out of time. We have
Okay.
been on here for 40 minutes.
Uh-huh.
We want to thank everybody that threw in questions while we're on here. One more time, if you want to go check out Emery, if you want to train with Emery, you can certainly come here to Top Guns and train with him. Call and ask for the schedule. We'll get you lined up for the next time he's in town. But they can also, if you're not here, because we've got viewers from all over the U.S., all over the world, you can certainly go and train with him at his school in Colorado. And so you can look him up. It's combatforceacademy.com.
.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your YouTube channel is Combat Force Academy.
Correct.
So go and check it out. Sign up. Follow this guy.
Thank
He's
you,
got a
guys.
lot of great training. And we did some quick tips that are coming out very shortly. That they'll be able to see some quick tips that we do have a whole.
We're talking about some of the controversial things that people don't like hearing out of me. You know, different grips, stuff that came out about mags and whatnot. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Hope we get to do this again soon.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see how you end this thing here.
I think just press
Hey, there's
on.
Callie. Did I just hit that?
Say hi to all Jen.